Fantasy Island. Hi, welcome to the recap room. In today's video, we'll be talking about a horror thriller film from 2020 entitled Fantasy Island. Warning, spoilers ahead. The scene opens with a woman, Sloane Madison, running away from something on an island called Fantasy. She reaches a mansion and gets inside. There, she receives a phone call and tells the caller that she has been kidnapped and thrown onto this island. The man on the other side tells her to not worry at all, so Madison realizes that it's the kidnapper. Suddenly, two men catch her and forcefully take her with them. As they leave, we see that the table in that mansion belongs to a guy called Mr. Rourke. A few days later, a private plane arrives on the same island. It has 5 people who supposedly won a contest and a trip to the island. Julia, Mr. Rourke's assistant, welcomes them on the island and takes them to the hotel. There, the guests meet Mr. Rourke, who tells them that this is a fantasy island. It has the power to make all their fantasies a reality. The only catch is that one person can have only one fantasy, and they must play out their fantasy till the very end. The way these fantasies are fulfilled is decided solely by the island. Now, Rourke takes the 2 brothers, JD and Brax, to a massive party. Actually, a party like this is exactly what JD wants and his fantasy is fulfilled. Then, the other 2 guests, Patrick and Melanie, also discuss their fantasies. Patrick reveals that he always wanted to be a soldier, but couldn't because of his mother. So he ended up as a cop, but now he has left that job too. Similarly, Melanie reveals that when she was a child, there was a girl named Madison in her class. She bullied her so much that people thought of her as a psycho. She even had to go to a psychiatrist who bored her so much that she called him Dr. Torture. So Melanie's fantasy is that she wants to torture Madison and take revenge. Rourke comes there and hears Melanie's fantasy and tells her to go to the basement. Melanie enters the basement and she finds her childhood bully Madison tied up on the other side of the glass. Melanie reads the instruction manual and presses different buttons on the desk. The first button gives Madison an electric shock, while the second button throws sewage water on her. Melanie enjoys this a minute, but soon realizes that this is real and Madison is actually getting hurt. She asks for help on their intercom and the doctor enters the room to torture Madison. She tried to stop him, but the doctor shows that his lips are sealed, and he is the Dr. Torture from his childhood. She tells him to cut Madison's finger, but uses it as an opportunity to shock him. She breaks the glass between them and frees Madison before running out of the mansion with her. Meanwhile, Rourke takes Patrick with him to a jungle and gives him a soldier's uniform as this was his selected fantasy. He drops him off and leaves from there. Suddenly, a group of soldiers finds Patrick in the jungle. They arrest him and present him in front of their lieutenant. The lieutenant checks his documents and is shocked to see his name is the same name as Patrick's father's name. The 2 start talking and discover that they are a father and son. Actually, Patrick's fantasy brought him to the time when his father left for Venezuela's mission. Patrick tells him that his father died on this mission, which will take place tomorrow. Hearing it, the father wants to abandon the mission, but Patrick tells him that he cannot do this. His father died saving his friends and became a hero of the nation. So Patrick doesn't want his father to be a coward. Now we see the last guest on the island, Miss Olsen. Rourke asks what is her fantasy and she reveals that she had a boyfriend who proposed to her for marriage. She said no back then, but she now regrets her decision every day. Rourke sends her to a room where her boyfriend is waiting for her. This was the date when her boyfriend proposed to her. She says yes this time and peacefully sleeps with her boyfriend that day. The next day, when she wakes up, she tells Rourke that everything is changed. So Rourke shows her some photos. She suddenly gets all the memories of having a daughter with her boyfriend. Olsen is unable to understand anything, so Rourke tells her that he spent years searching for this island. He found this island, but his wife passed away due to bad health. So the island fulfilled his fantasy and he can stay with his wife as long as he's on this island. On the other hand, JD and Brax are surrounded by girls and they are enjoying the party. Suddenly, the owner of the house, who's a drug dealer, comes there and starts shooting at them. They hide in a room and call Rourke for help, But Rourke tells them that the attacker is the owner of this house and he cannot do anything as they must play their fantasies till the end. Rex escapes and hides in a small room. He finds a grenade and uses it to force the landlord into releasing his brother upstairs. While they were going, Patrick and his father arrive there with the rest of the soldiers. Rex is shocked to see Patrick and asks what is he doing in his fantasy, but Patrick says this is his fantasy. Now the drug dealers start attacking them and JD gets shot in the chest. The soldiers shoot down the drug dealers, but they wake up like zombies. In the end, Patrick's father sacrifices himself to save them. Meanwhile, in the jungle, Melanie and Madison are attacked by Dr. Tochu, but an old man saves them and kills the doctor. The old man then takes them to a cave, where an egg-like structure reveals Madison's fantasy of being with her husband. The old man tells them that he is an investigator who was paid to search this island. After coming here, he realized the powers of the island that come from this egg-like structure and this black water. Whoever drinks this water lives their fantasy, so Rourke sneakily gave them the water and he's not a good man. Rourke also broke his phone, so he's now stuck in this island. The old man tells Melanie to call on a number that will bring a helicopter there in 1 hour. And Melanie and Madison call the phone number. Now we see Olsen, who is on the beach with her boyfriend and daughter. She realizes that this is not exactly what she wants. 6 years ago, a fire in her house took the life of her neighbor named Nick. She wants to save Nick and tells Rourke about it. Although Rourke says that they cannot change her fantasy, she somehow convinces him. Rourke sends her to a room where Olsen lives her fantasy where a fire breaks out in her apartment. During the incident, JD and Brax were also there, and Patrick was the police officer. She then goes inside to save Nick, but falls unconscious due to the smoke. Julia saves Olsen and brings her out of the room. She tells Julia that this is someone else's fantasy. Now all the guests gather, and Olsen reveals that her neighbor Nick died in a fire. JD and Brax were Nick's roommates and Melanie was his classmate. Moreover, she figures out that Julia and Rourke are Nick's parents, so this is Rourke's fantasy. All of them ask Rourke to stop the fantasy, but he tells them this will only stop by their death. They all hear the noise of a plane and run outside, but Rourke orders his assistant to shoot down the plane with a missile. Now all of them go to the cave of black water, where Rourke's men attack them. Patrick kills one of them, but Melanie out of nowhere stabs him with a knife. Turns out, this is Melanie's fantasy and she was in love with Nick. She wants to kill all of them because they didn't save Nick from dying. Rourke tells them that everyone here has lived some part of their fantasy except Madison. So she has the power to drink the black water and create her fantasy. She drinks the black water and wishes that Melanie goes back to Nick. Nick suddenly comes out of the water and takes Melanie with him. The next moment, Melanie comes out of the water and throws a grenade toward them. An injured Patrick jumps on the grenade and saves everyone. The following morning, everyone wakes up in the hotel. JD and Patrick died on the island and Rourke tells everyone that they can leave. Brax is sad that he lost his brother, and Rourke tells him that he was in his brother's fantasy. He can get his brother back, but he will have to stay on the island forever. Brax agrees and sees his brother come out of the plane. That was it for the recap, guys. Make sure to like and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification bell as well so that you're notified on our next uploads. Thank you for watching.